welcome back tankers of Blitz Universe. Update 3.8 is coming very soon and this will be part of it. The IS-5 Object 730 is making its way into the game as part of Tier 10 clan supplies. And today I'm going to talk you through how this tank behaves. It will be no surprise for all ends in the game, for people who have an IS-6, who have ground their way up to the Glacial, who drive an IS-3, who drive a Defender, and all those sort of tanks in the game, the IS-8 as well. This is a typically Russian heavium. Pike nose on the front, spaced armor on the side, trollish armor, trollish angles, not the thickest of armor, but it relies on angling, it relies on a big gun, a 122mm gun, which is very well known in the game and a lot of players already have it. And you can see from this bounce we get from the T-32, this is pretty much a side-scraping vehicle. This is a fast tank. We will do a full stats and numbers session later in the video. We will look at the armor profile obviously as well. But this is a tank to hold a choke point. It is a tank to drive into the face of the enemy and sit there and dish out the damage. 400 average alpha with your 122mm gun. You are obviously not invulnerable, and I'm trying my level best here to bounce shots from this sand from the VK45 O2B on the left, and we are bouncing shots and then shooting. And I'm also trying my level best in a second to get shot in the side to show you that the best armor is in the front of the tank and the sides not so much, but the bots are aiming center mass and they are either missing or bouncing on my gun mantlets or on my side armor on the angled bits, which really make up for the lack of thickness. Nevertheless, guns with good penetration can easily pen you. This is a tier 8 heavy, obviously. And you can see that sand, even though it is stock, it hasn't got the L7A1, it has a 20-pounder. That one goes straight through if you angle your front plate and you will flatten that pike nose out. We will look at that in the armor inspector views. But before we go into more detail on the armor profile, we will look at the stats and numbers, because it is a tank that has been in the game for quite a while. And that makes it easy to compare it to all of the other tier 8 heavies in the game at the moment. So the gameplay is pretty obvious, being an IS version. Using blitzstars.com compare tanks, we are taking a look at the question mark IS-5 Object 730. The icon is not yet in the game files, but the tank itself has been. I think I have a video on the channel from February last year where I met it while driving the Cheeto back in the +2, -2 matchmaking. But it has been in the game files for a long time, so it can be compared to the Defender, the Fearless, the Glacial, the Independence, the M6A2E1 EXP, and all the other tanks that are in the game. But like with the earlier M6A2 EXP comparison, I'm really comparing them to the other tier 8 premium heavy tanks at the moment. And that reminds me, while I'm saying this, I need to add Löwe, because Löwe is magic, and of course the booby tank KV5. Switching off the food and obviously the equipment, because that will all be changed in update 3.8. Let's have a look at the firepower first. You can see it up here, Defender and Glacial. 122mm D25 TA gun. Really, it's the same gun as on the Defender. It's the same gun pretty much as on the Fearless, the IS-6 and the Glacial. They all get the same gun with one big difference. The Glacial fires AP and the IS-5 Defender, they fire APCR as standard ammo. The Independence also AP, EXP AP, Löwe fires AP, and the KV5 also fires APCR as standard. Penetration value pretty much in the middle of the pack, 221. Alpha damage 400, which is on par with the rest of the class. 4.47 rounds a minute, slightly lower than the Defender, slightly better than the Fearless, on par with the Glacial, on par with Independence, at pretty much middle of the pack. Löwe has a better rate of fire, as you can see here, and it also gets the best DPM. And the KV-5 is lacking behind in DPM, but it has a fairly good rate of fire. But yeah, for APSR standard it is the lowest in terms of penetration, but the Glacier is the odd one out at only 175. Reload, yeah, again pretty much middle of the pack, same. There is 122 millimeters, and firing APSR, very good shell velocity. The weapon handling, typically Russian you'd think, but as you can see it is, well, yeah, the Defender has worst, but it's not that bad compared to the Fearless and the Glacier. It's typically Russian, they do it a bit better, they're green, but only by 3%. So you have to take that into account. Dispersion all the same along the Russian guns. Independence, Expert do it a lot better, the Lure is the best, KV-5 is even better than those two, those IS versions. Rotation, dispersion upon movement and rotation is worse than the other tanks in here. Elevation and depression only -5, that is not a lot. The Defender gets it better, the Fearless gets it better, Glacier gets it better, and obviously these tanks as well, but and -5. We've seen it in the gameplay, you really have to factor it in, and I think that the elevation is a bit underwhelming as well. Glacier gets the same, Fearless a bit better. But that can be an issue if you are close to hills. Take for example, if you want to drive around a hill on mines because the entrance is blocked and there's no real need for you to be there because you can't really use gun depression to full effect, then you might want to drive around. But if you want to shoot up, then you can't because you can't get your gun up high enough. That said, I think the strength of this tank lies in the speed. It's a bit quicker than the Defender. It's a lot quicker than the Fearless, and it's far more quicker than the Glacial and the Independence and the Exp and the Lure, and a bit faster again than the KV-5. This is a slamity bam bam whack it in your face type of tank. You have to drive it into a choke point, really get it in there, get it hull down, because if you take a look a bit lower, as you can see here, hull armor fairly good. Some of the other tanks have it pretty much the same, KV-5 obviously. Turret armor isn't that good compared to the Defender, but yeah, it is better than Fearless, as you can see here, and it's about on par I think with the Glacial, because that one has the big tumors on top, the cupolas. And we're taking a look at Armor Inspector in a second, but yeah, this is pretty good, I think. Obviously the Independence and the T-34 have the best turret armor up front, but yeah, this is a tank that you really need to drive in there. Not a lot of players are playing them at the moment because it has only been on super test, but other than that, all the statistics, yeah, pretty much the same along the board, really. IS-5 Object 730 in tank compare. Yeah, comparable to the Defender, to the Fearless, to the Glacier, to the IS-6, to the IS-3, to the IS itself, the IS-8. It is a heavium. You have to drive it into a choke point, get that 122mm gun with 400 average alpha out. Still need to take a look at the penetration values on the premium ammunition, and you can see 270 penetration. Yeah, again the same as with all the IS derivatives. Independence and the Exp get it a bit better. The Lure is just on the par with these two, and the KV-5, although it fires heat, has far less penetration, but that is probably onto account of that 107mm gun. But yeah, if a 10.5 can do it for 294, then this might have been a bit better, but the KV-5 gets a lot in the armor department. So all in all, might be pretty much balanced. Moving on to Armor Inspector, this is what you want to be seeing, I think, with an IS-5 in your face, big gun, hello, there it is. Disregard these numbers, -10 is not what you're getting on the IS-5, although it shows here on Armor Inspector, or -5 is what you're getting, -10, it's, yeah, it's just isn't. A T110E5 has -10, not even the STI has -10. And well, if it would have had -10 like it is having here, I think at the moment, Take a look at a Indian shooting the IS-5. That one would be wickedly OP if you have it held down. The only way to penetrate it would be on the cupolas on top, but yeah, you would have to be a cracking shot to penetrate this with AP, by the way, or underneath the gun. That's where you can pen 94%, as you can see here. Other than that, I am using, like I said, the Indian Panzer for comparisons, because I've used that one in the Glacial as well. And take a look at this up front. If you don't angle the tank, just face it front. This is a weak spot, obviously, the lower plate, but keep that lower plate hidden and people might be able to shoot here, but it's a very, very lucky shot. Straight under the gun there are a few weak spots, and again on top the cupolas. But yeah, let's say this is the distance you'll be getting normally, and you can see as it grows the distance. Oh man, it is a hard one. It's a very hard shot to get. Nevertheless, if IS-5 drivers are not too careful and they start angling the tank, take a look at what's happening here, because yeah, you can angle obviously. But a lot of people who have been driving ISs have known this for a long time. You really shouldn't angle an IS-3 or a Defender or a Fearless or I would say a Glacial, but that one has a flat front plate. You really shouldn't angle these tanks, because it negates the armor profile you have on the frontal armor. It flattens out that plate, and the same goes for tanks that are above you, because it isn't a lot of armor up there. Taking a look at the armor, where is it? There it is. You can see these plates only 120 millimeters of thickness. That's not a lot. This one is even less. These plates here 45, and this one is a viewport. But if you manage to get higher than an IS, you can shoot them through the roof, through the engine deck. Only 16 HE would go through. Turret top 30 millimeters. That's not a lot. This only 102. It relies on angling on thickness, on angling rather than thickness. It isn't a lot of armor. But like I said, if you put that pike nose straight up front, like this, then it becomes red. If you drive like this, it becomes green, and an Indian with AP can pen very comfortably. If we take then, for example, a Panther 1 with AP, you can see it can pen very comfortably. So don't go driving in like I've shown you on the Exp and on the on other tanks, using the drive wheels and shooting over the side of a tank. That's not the best idea. Using a bit of gun depression is versus a tier 7, but still it's not a guaranteed bounce. Again, we are using then the Indian, and it is not a guaranteed bounce. Where is a Panther 2 Indian bot cannon? You can see even more, 42. And if we move up towards the E50 or the Leopard, you can see 83%. At -4 we can make it -5 there. Oh yep, there it is. Bit less, 77%, but like I said, more chances of penetrating than bouncing the shots. And if you shoot through the drive wheel with enough force, you can track them in place and shoot the armor on the sides. One thing to watch out for though, if you are shooting a IS-5, spaced armor on the sides, heat will get eaten, tracks will get a lot, but shoot between the tracks only 80 millimeters, shoot above those angled bits on the really top edge 120 millimeters, and there is spaced armor on that side as well. So that's one thing to take care of and to keep into consideration. All in all, for those of you who will be driving an IS-5, tier 7 vehicles, stock tier 9s, they will have a hard time penning you up front, as you've seen from the bits of gameplay in the video. But you have to be careful, because your sides, although trollish, although angled, they are pennable. It is an easy pen, especially if you are higher. And with that limited elevation, you have tanks that are above you. Yeah, they can shoot straight through the engine deck, and that's something you really have to take into account. That said, I will talk you through the way you can get the IS-5 in a second now, as we head back to the World of Tanks Blitz garage. And actually, after doing the commenting on that and hearing myself say going back to the garage, I was thinking, well, let's not go back to the garage, put in some more gameplay versus bots and show some issues like here with the gun oppression, and talk you through the way of getting the IS-5. Because I mentioned tier 10 clan supplies, they will be there in update 3.8. We're at tier 9 at the moment. You will receive more bonuses, 5% discount on researchable tier 10 vehicles, the opportunity to purchase an additional garage slot for 200,000 credits, increased discount on provisions and adrenaline, and 5% discount on the new tier 3 equipment. Plus, you will also get the opportunity to purchase the IS-5 for 1500 gold, which is very good. There will be also discounts on equipment levels 1, 2 and 3 for the new equipment. And like I said, this IS-5, it has all the characteristics of the IS series of vehicles with a big 122mm gun. To purchase it, open the discounts of supply level 10 in clan supply and tap the icon with a premium vehicle. For those of you who have been paying close attention to the tank, especially while we were driving on Yamato, it comes with the possibility to buy camouflage, a man's best friend, which is looking a bit gaudy in my opinion, with its bear paws or dog paws. I don't know what they really are, but it's a camouflage which is in the game, and it is, as far as I know at the moment, only applicable to the IS-5. All in all, a very good vehicle, because the IS series are pretty good vehicles, but I can't help but think, did we really need another IS series vehicle at tier 8? We have the Defender, we have the Glacial, the IS-6 itself, the Fearless as a reward vehicle. Was it really needed to get yet another typically Russian 122mm gun armed tank into the game? Nevertheless, it is a good thing that people are now able to purchase a tier 8 premium vehicle without having to go through a massive grind festival. It is far cheaper than buying an IS-6 from the tech tree, so those players who are in a clan who haven't been able to buy a tier 8 premium vehicles, this is really your chance, and how it plays out in the game remains to be seen. In the meanwhile, we are trying to ram this T-54 to death, and we succeed. We see you all in update 3.8.